Last night, we saw Shin Ultraman, the second movie in the Shin trilogy of Tokakatsu films, following Shin Godzilla. Connor, what is Shin Ultraman about?
Shin Ultraman, much like Shin Godzilla, is a political thriller starring ridiculous Japanese monsters and characters. Much like Shin Godzilla, it follows a group of people who are trying to figure out how to navigate the situation of the arrival of a giant creature or character in Japan. In this one, we have kaijus attacking Japan, which leads to Ultraman arriving, which prompts a series of extraterrestrials to come to Earth, Japan specifically, to fight Ultraman and cause general mayhem throughout the planet. It's a superhero film, it's a cheesy 60s TV show, and it's a legal drama, all wrapped into one. And Aiden, what did you think of Shin Ultraman?
It's awesome. So, in the same way, Shin Godzilla went back to Godzilla's roots. The first Godzilla movie is allegorical for nuclear warfare, the nuclear bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And Shin Godzilla explored, allegorically through Godzilla, contemporary issues in Japan, like government bureaucracy and the 2011 earthquake tsunami. In the same way, Shin Ultraman goes back to Ultraman's roots, but unlike Godzilla, Ultraman's roots were that it was a Tokakatsu show for 10-year-old boys where a man in a spandex suit beats the crap out of men in rubber suits every week.
Yeah.
There's obviously some message and underlying theme here, and it kind of touches on the same stuff of like government incompetence with the world governments continuing to side with aliens because they're idiots, but much less so than Shin Godzilla. This is way more of just a fun
wacky bullshit.
Fun, wacky bullshit, yeah. And it is. I think the kaiju designs in this movie are really fun. I like the one with the big drill nose. I like when he fights the alien that's impostering him. The final battle against the gigantic robot. It's cheesy, it's dumb, but it also knows that it is, and it's endearingly committed to playing it as straight as possible. It's not like a fucking Ready Player One or like any Ryan Reynolds movie, like that video game one. What's it called?
Free Guy.
There's no jokes at the movie's expense.
Right.
The characters aren't constantly winking and nodding at the audience and being like, this is stupid. This is played completely straight, and it's a movie about a giant alien who beats the crap out of kaiju and other aliens. It's fun. There's nothing else to say. I think the CGI, I think it would have been nice to have more suitmation. Right. I think there was some, but I think the CGI is a little rough. Japan still doesn't have quite the grasp on it.
And I imagine budgetarily
as well.
It's not going to match up, you know.
It's not going to be fucking Avengers Endgame or
You're
anything.
going to have to assume you're watching some American 2005 equivalent.
Yeah. The CGI is not very good, but I think they kind of give it a little bit of an art style that's going to let it maintain. And despite that, I think like the fight choreography is really fun, and like the fights are creative and different. The movie goes through fights with like 4 or 5 different monsters and aliens, and a lot of them have like really fun, actiony fights, and even though Hideki Anno didn't directly direct this one, it still has kind of the anime-inspired
Right.
visual design concepts of these, you know, flashy, wide-angle, big-cut fights that makes them really exciting despite the lower-budget special effects. Yeah, it's simple, dumb fun, and it knows it, and it plays that card well. There's nothing deep about it. There doesn't have to be. It's fun. That's I think that's the big takeaway. So Connor, what do you think of Shin Ultraman?
I'm somewhat familiar with Ultraman in the fact that I'm a fan of Godzilla, and Ultraman is within that ecosystem of kaijus, Japan.
Ultraman's
Toho.
kind of a spin-off, a little.
Yeah.
There have been like official tie-ins, but
So
Subaraya Productions, who made Ultra Q and then Ultraman, was originally Subaraya was the guy who did the special effects work for the first like 9 or 10 Godzilla movies.
So he was,
And
in
then he
the
split off
Showa
from
era.
that.
Got it.
And then he split off from that and made his own production company. And Subaraya would continue to do the special effects for the movies, but they also started their own series, which is where
Right.
Ultra Q and Ultraman came from. So a lot of the same people
Did both.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that the Shin team kind of has been coming back together to revive a lot of 60s and 50s monster mayhem. They're coming back with Shin Kamen Rider this year,
Shin Kamen Rider.
which might be next year for us Americans, sadly, if it's anything like Ultraman, where it comes
Yeah.
out in the summer and we get it later. My point is,
Shin Kamen looks awesome.
I'm not super familiar with Ultraman as a character, but I knew I would fuck with it because it's the same DNA as maybe not the original Godzilla, which actually has a deep social commentary, but later Showa Godzilla, which is big monster fight,
This
and
is
it's fun,
some
and it's fucking fun, man.
Ultraman is
I had fun watching
peak
this
mid
shit.
Showa era.
Especially the first couple fights were really fun for me when they're like, let's just make up a crazy ass monster.
Yeah, that drill monster's so
The
fun.
drill monster, and they had all these kaijus that they're like, this is how we defeated this. And Ultraman shows up later to start defeating kaijus, but it's like, this is how we defeated this kaiju practically. This is how we defeated this kaiju. And you got like clearly one that's just Godzilla with like some extra
Yeah.
horns.
Yep.
I love that shit. I love it.
The monster designs, one of the things that people love about Ultraman is, like, because they had to make so many monsters, there's a lot of really, like, memorable, wacky ones. And I'm glad that they got some for this. Like,
Right.
There's, like, this electric dragon that has horns that fold out that it uses to absorb energy. And when it's absorbing energy, it turns invisible. Like, it's awesome. The big, like, 3 drill arm thing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's cool, man. I love fucking kaijus, so I love seeing this shit. And that was really fun. And it followed the core thesis of Shin Godzilla, where it's like, how would real world bureaucracy handle a fucking Godzilla showing up? That thesis is pulled over. Definitely to a lesser extent than Shin Godzilla, which definitely felt the DNA of the original Godzilla the most, where it was humans versus monster. This is, in a way, monster versus monster, if you consider Ultraman a monster. Some sort of giant kaiju versus match. But it has that same DNA, to a lesser extent than Shin Godzilla, but it keeps that interesting aspect of what would humans do if this show up. They don't bullshit a small human cast to fill up the runtime between monster fights like a lot of the Godzillas do.
Yeah.
I mean, they do make a human cast, but I think the thesis of the Shin saga is How would the real world react to this crazy bullshit happening around them? And I absolutely love it. You're pulling in from the same bag of tricks as Shin Godzilla, but it's a good fucking bag of tricks because I find it funny.
And the answer,
I find it interesting. I love the politics. And I love the fights. And it's some of the most interesting shit in the kaiju genre.
The answer is apparently that the Japanese government would roll over to a weird alien in a trench coat and fedora.
Yeah.
That shows up and says, I can kill Ultraman for you, and they say, okay, thanks.
Well, I love that they're
okay,
like...
obviously evil alien.
I like how they're like, okay, thanks, obviously evil alien. We definitely want you on our side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a bunch of bullshit, and I love it.
Funny.
I love that shit. That's awesome. That's an awesome thesis. I'm sure Shin Kamen Rider, I should say, will be touching on the same stuff for the third time. And I like it. I'm so glad that they came back and did that. And it was a fun introduction to Ultraman. I'm a big fan of like superhero stuff. So a superhero mixes the kaiju. Man, that interests me. That definitely interests me. It piques my interest. I think my special interest in autism is superheroes and giant monsters. So merging the two is definitely piques my special interest. It was fucking wacky. The special effects, while not the best in the world, like you were saying, are very cool. Like, I like his little lasers. And I like how they almost said, okay, we can't make American CGI, but we're just going to keep faithful to the 60s. Like, the laser, you could have made the laser... You could have tried to make it more realistic, but it still had that, like, we drew this frame by frame on film feel. Yeah. And I loved that. Man, it was crazy. Shin Ultraman is a great time.
I love how
it's a ride.
When he's going to destroy the big robot in the sky, how even though they have the ability to make him like fly proper in this movie, they still do the thing that the show would do. Where it's just like a still image of him moving up, and it's like,
exactly.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Looks
and
good.
Is it fair to call this movie somewhat directionless? Sure. At times,
yeah, I mean,
it's like, here is 20 minutes of something happening. And then something else happens for 20 minutes. And then something else happens for 20 minutes. And then something else happens for 20 minutes. And then it ends.
It's 5 episodes of a TV show.
It is. It is a TV...
what the series was.
It is... That's exactly what it feels like. And that's what I was getting to. Godzilla was very... Shin Godzilla was very directioned in its thesis. Yeah, it knew what it was leading to. This is like... Here's a wacky thing that's going to happen for 20 minutes. And here's a wacky thing that's going to happen for 20 minutes. Did it still work for me? Yeah.
It's 5.
But was it a little less... Was it a little less direct than Shin Godzilla? That is for certain. I'm not really going to dock it because I still had a great fucking time. I thought it was amazing.
I think that's perfect for Ultraman.
That's perfect.
Like,
and it kind of
You could make one coherent movie, but this is 5 or 6 little stories, little episodes of this TV show stitched together in a loose overarching plot.
And I dig that.
It's perfect for what Ultraman was.
So you might go in a little confused at what the overarching plot is. That's because there's like 5 of them, man. But it's crazy. It's worth it.
It's fun.
You'll have fun. I swear to God. Anyways, Aiden, would you recommend Shin Ultraman?
Absolutely. No doubt. It's fun. Don't go in expecting Shin Godzilla. It's not that. It's fun. It's dumb. It knows it. It loves it. And you will too. Connor. Do you recommend Shin Ultraman?
Yes, I would. Go in expecting Shin Godzilla because, in a way, it's like Shin Godzilla.
It is.
But also, it's definitely living up to the DNA of the 60s TV series as I understand it. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's wild. It's fun.
Also, we
You're
watched...
not gonna like it that much if you're a fucking American superhero fan. I'm supposed to like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumanium. I think that movie looks like shit.
We'll get to that.
Shin Ultraman, that's wild.
We'll get to that. Oh, also, we watched Sub, just in case anyone was wondering.
We
I
did
can't
watch
comment on the quality
subtitles.
of
We
the dub,
can't-
I don't know.
The dub and the sub are coming to any Fathom Events theaters. Any theaters that are teamed up with Fathom Events.
No complaints about the sub. I don't know how the dub is. If anyone has seen the dub version,
I have
feel free
seen
to
the dub of
comment.
Shin Godzilla and it was not the worst dub, but
I imagine that it's...
I've seen the sub and the
high
dub for Shin
quality.
Godzilla. I've seen that movie 3 or 4 times, and
Actually, I did see the dub for Shin Godzilla too, didn't I?
I accidentally bought the dub on Vudu, so
Yes,
we did
yes,
watch
yeah.
the dub for Shin
I
Godzilla.
remember that.
Now I actually own the Blu-ray for Shin Godzilla. Corey got it for me for my birthday last year, so
I would imagine...
I have that.
I would imagine that the dub is of a
The
decent
sub.
quality. The sub is really good. I
Hold
guess
up.
the dub is good, but
One
if
thing I
anyone
hate about
actually sees the
Vudu,
dub-
one thing I hate about Vudu.com, owned by Fandango, previously owned by Walmart, previously a porn distributor. One thing I hate about Vudu is that, you know what, they sell Shin Godzilla separate dub and sub, and when they put it on sale, they only had the dub on sale. This was like 2 years ago when I bought it. So when I got that movie for $5, fuck me apparently, because I am stuck with the dub. But then I bought the well, not me, but my ex-girlfriend Corey bought me the Blu-ray, and it had the dub and the sub on it. Voodoo, why don't you just include the dub and the sub in one version? I don't know, man. Now I have to whip out my Blu-ray every time, which is fine. I don't know. I love the Blu-ray. I love my Criterion Godzilla set. I love Godzilla.
yeah, that
man.
Criterion Godzilla set's awesome.
I love Godzilla. Now I gotta get into Ultraman too, because I thought this movie was intriguing. It intrigued
You
me.
gotta watch more of that one guy's videos that I've been watching.
I know.
I almost
I
caught
was
up
going
on
with
those.
you. I was watching one with you, but I had to go to work.
Yeah,
I'll
I'm
probably
almost
watch
caught
the
up on
room at
those.
work or something.
those are really good videos.
They actually seem
Shout
really
out
good.
to Big Action Bill's documentary review series on the Godzilla movies. They're
Shout
awesome.
out to our review on all the Godzilla movies. We went era by era and did a discussion on every Godzilla movie. So if you want to
It's
see
not
that,
even true.
what?
I think we only made the 2 videos.
No, we made it for all the Godzilla movies.
Oh right, we started the Gamera ones.
We did the
Didn't
Gamera
end up
ones, but we
finishing that.
never edited it.
We didn't actually shoot that one. I didn't think we even finished watching them because we got fucking busy with stuff. But
No, we did finish the Godzilla movies. Or the
Anyway.
Gamera movies. I've seen them all.
Shin Ultraman forever. Looking forward to Shin Kamen. The pictures that we've seen of it look awesome.
Kaiju discussions. Showa, Heisei, TriStar Millennium,
Oh, yeah.
Reiwa, Monsterverse.
You're right.
Destroy all monsters. Dude, people were pissed. Somebody disliked all of our Monsterverse, all our Godzilla discussions.
Except the first one.
Except for the first one. So watch our playlist, Kaiju Discussions, if you want to see more of us bitching about kaijus.